kind of like I think people like Michael Jordan as kind of a unique kind of character.
And I have
I love
You just see how games and possessions are more intense, how they mean more.
I'm not putting him on.
I think the U.S. is going to obviously win.
Like Skip Bayless debates 20 LeBron fans.
Is that like the one where it's like
But this
20...
wasn't my intro. This is the preload to the intro.
Okay, where it's like one woke guy against like 20 racist guys. Yeah.
Have you seen these, Liz?
No. Oh,
No,
wait.
okay.
Yes, I have. But I was like, wait, are they actually going to do those for the NBA? Because that would actually be amazing.
No, there is a Skip Bayless one.
No, there is?
The Skip Bayless. So there's a long lineage of, Dr. Mike debates 20 anti-vaxxers or whatever. But just this week, Skip Bayless did one debating LeBron versus whoever.
Uh-huh.
And, he makes some interesting points.
I don't understand the format at all. Like, it's so crazy to me that people watch this. This is just something that I don't... is this as popular as, like, Twitter highlights make it seem?
I think so. Like, I think there's just this very large group of people that just like watches YouTube and gets all of their like news and content through whatever the algorithm pushes.
Yeah.
And I think shit like that really pops on there.
Yeah. Well, okay. I was going to start with an intro about Liz doing a 20 versus 1 debate with the All In podcast Discord moderators, but we started talking just about the notion of the All In podcast. I mean, of 20 versus 1 as a format. I am Harry Krinsky. I am joined by Patrick Redford. We have Liz Franczak on the show today. Many, there are all different kinds of factions within Liz Hive universe. There's some people that are like, what's Liz going to say about fashion? What's Liz going to say about San Francisco? We are really strictly trying to know what Liz is going to say about basketball. So, Liz, we're very happy to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I never get a chance to talk about this stuff.
To that point, I wanted to ask, like, you have talked about being a Warriors fan in the past. Like, what was the
info hazard?
What was the journey? Like, when did you become a Warriors fan? What was that like?
Good question. I mean, San Francisco. So I grew up in San Francisco, like in San Francisco proper, and sports were very big in my house. My parents were. I mean, because you have to understand, like, so I'm old for, like, I don't know, for probably people who listen to the show, but the 80s and 90s were like golden era across all sports in San Francisco. Like you had the Niners and you had both waves of the Niners. You had the Montana years and then you had the Steve Young years, both of which had like massive highs, And then you had the Giants that were doing really well. They had really fun in the 90s and then up into the World Series teams in the 2000s. But like we were like really lucky as like sports watchers, except for with basketball. Right. Like that was just like not really that big. But my parents like watched all of them. And I feel like with the Warriors, I mean, everyone knows this, but like there were a couple moments through the dark ages that were so bright with both Run TMC and then obviously We Believe, which are sort of like the peaks. But the valley between those is like when it gets real fun and interesting and weird. And so I think, I mean, I try to remember, like, I know that I remember my dad telling me about Run TMC because I was still pretty young then, but I was like way more into football at that time. But my mom, like, weirdly, she was working for State Farm. And she like worked in an insurance office in Diamond Heights, and they handled the insurance for Nate Thurman's barbecue spot, Big Nate's. And so he really liked her. And so they got tickets to the Coliseum like all the time through Nate Thurman. And so they would get to go, but the Warriors were so bad, even back then. So, but now I'm like a little off track. But obviously We Believe was like that was a big, big moment, and also a big bonding moment, I think, with me and my dad. And yeah, I mean, I was like a huge Monte Ellis fan. I was a big Steven Jackson fan. Like I remember, yeah, I mean, there's so many moments from my childhood. Now I'm just getting very sentimental about those guys. I was so sad when they traded Monte. I'm not gonna lie.
We'll definitely talk about that at some point.
I feel like the everyone booing Joe Lacob and Rick Welts after the Monte Ellis trade is like this moment of sort of like, that's like a psychic turning point, I feel like, for the entire Warriors fan base. And like, not quite the NBA at large, but like, you know, you see like Nico Harrison and the Mavs people like comparing the Luka trade to that moment.
Yes.
And I think it's like, it is sort of incredible how wrong everyone was. But like, I don't know, I feel like that fits into this overall vibe I have from Warriors fans. I am here to put you guys on trial, unfortunately, because I find the way that like so much of the fan base has like forgotten those fallow years and forgotten like how, like you said, Liz, like how lovely they were to be sort of annoying, just because those teams were like so fun and like their flaws were what made them cool, you know?
But so much of that is because the league was so different back then. And also no internet, which I think is like very important. Or we had like nascent internet blogging stuff in the early 2000s, which was very important to the league too. But now no one remembers that, because also everyone online is like fucking 14 years old. You have these kids hiding behind these avatars, these like stan accounts shouting out opinions, and then like actual media personalities being like, why are like people saying all of this stuff about, whatever they're saying, like, Giannis is like the greatest player of all time, or like just saying absurd things or whatever. And it's like, yeah, because that person's 14 years old. Like, stop taking them seriously. Like, have some pride. But setting that aside, I do, just because you brought up the Nico thing, I want to say that, like, one thing that's pissed me off about this whole debacle is that nobody is talking about the fucking owners, except for the conspiracy theorists, who are very important and should get more attention. But everyone is fucking talking about, like, as if Nico made this decision. Like, first of all, he's a patsy, and we need to insist that he's a patsy. And he got paid, I'm sure, by Nike and by everyone else under the table. He's good. He'll be fine. But he's not the one that you should direct your ire at. Like, rule number one of all sports fandom is always boo the owner. Always boo the owner. You back the players, and sometimes you back management, right? Depending on the situation, but you always boo the owner, and you never fucking back the owner, ever, because they're the owner and they're the enemy. But like, nobody is talking about that with the Mavs. They're all just like, get rid of Nico, get rid of Nico. And I'm like, you think this motherfucker made that decision to trade away Luka himself? Like, I'm sure he has his own rhymes or reasons, or he's justified it to himself somehow. But there is so much more going on with this story that we will probably not find out about for the next 10 years, if ever, that like this whole thing happened. And you guys are focusing on, not you guys, but the collective you guys, like, I just think it's wrong. I think that like everyone's chasing the wrong story. It's not the fucking GM. He's patsy. He's not even a real GM. He like was like a sneaker salesman. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, so it's funny with that conspiracy that you're saying nobody's talking about it, because I agree it's fallen out, but the first 24 hours of that news cycle was like immediate conspiracy. Yeah. They're moving the team so they can build a gambling giant infrastructure in Las Vegas, or stronghand the people of Dallas or whatever. But I agree that a lot of kind of any actual substantive follow-up into the family, which are like full of psychos, specifically that family, has pretty much gone by the wayside.
Or just like, as a point of pride, like, go after the owner, demand answers from the owner. Like, how are they able to be silent? And you're trotting out this guy as if he's going to have any answers. He's just going to be like, well, I liked the pick. I liked the stock. Like, he's just going to say whatever. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get anything real out of him.
Well, and there was that big embarrassing press conference that he did where he just kept saying defense wins championships over and over again. And all the reporting out of that was that, like, Dumont, the the weird little porcine owner guy, like made him do that press conference basically as like cover for his own ass. And then you see all like today's the day when all the big like anecdote filled stories are coming out and everyone's leaking. And like Nico specifically is the person getting a lot of this. So I think you're totally right. And I think like even if like the conspiracies aren't like necessarily true in the specific sense, they like capture this kind of undeniable spiritual truth, which I think is like every good sports cheating scandal and conspiracy theory like kind of centers around that nugget. And I think this one totally does, because even if like this actually was like a Nico unique decision, like this doesn't happen without competent ownership, right?
But why would he make for someone had to sign off on the decision? Like, even if it was where he was like, "Oh, I've got a master plan, but like the owners had to sign off on that, and then you need to demand on why did you sign off on this? But like nobody is even demanding those answers. They're all just going after this guy as if nothing begins and ends with him, and it's so stupid that we pretend that. Like, go after where the money is. It's the owners. Talk to the owners, you know? And I just think like everyone's kind of playing along, and by everyone I mean the media, which is I want to talk about. But you know, they're all sort of playing along with this thing like, oh yeah, it was just Nico, and he just made this like, you know, someone just happened to get pics of him at the diner at the shitty diner or the airport coffee shop, wherever the fuck they were, with Palinka. Having, you know, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Come on.
So wait, you said you mentioned the Patsy angle and the Nike stuff. What would Nico have to gain from eating this? Just like set for life money wise?
Yeah.
I mean, the league wants Luka.
Who's gonna hire him after this?
No.
Yeah.
Literally no, like not even the fucking Pelicans would hire him.
Yeah.
You know, like who would hire him as a GM? You'd be like, ooh, thank God we don't have any talent. I guess we'll hire him. We'll be safe. But like,
I can see it. 2032. Whoever the Kings just hired has been fired. Vlade Divac's second and third tenures have both ended in failure. And then it's like, you know, we finished last in defensive rating 7 years on the trot. It's time to bring in a real maestro on that end. That's right. Nico
Ace
Harrison.
in the hole.
He was actually
but that's
right.
what I think. It's just like, oh, he's going to get quietly, you know, in 3 years whenever I don't know how the contracts line up, but I think it's like 2-3 years they have with Kyrie, AD, Clay, whatever it is. That kind of goes gently into the night. Then Nico gets like, oop, yeah, it's time for him to go. Now he's back at Nike. Surprise, surprise.
Right.
And it's all good. Meanwhile, LeBron has now, you know, left to go be owner / GM / coach, whatever he wants, of the Las Vegas LeBrons
Saudi
that
Arabian
he's promised.
LeBron,
Yes,
nation state team.
bought and paid for by the Saudis.
The Neom cube in the advertising patch spot.
Yes. And Luka is there to help usher in Eurodollars into the fucking crumbling American sports empire.
So this is bigger than
it's
gambling.
so much this shit gets so much bigger.
This is tariff-proofing the Los Angeles Lakers.
That's what I'm saying.
And also LeBron and Luka, both famously Nike guys. Like Luka's like the Jordan.
And you just secured the largest European market. Los Angeles. Meet Europe. Like, it makes sense. From a league, here, I'll say this. From a league perspective, the Luka trade makes sense. And that is the only perspective it makes sense by. Yeah. So, ergo.
I have sort of come all the way around on conspiracies like that, where I'm like, not only do I think that, not that it happens, but like, I think it should. Like, I actually think it's good for the league if they like rig Giannis to Miami or whatever. Like, and maybe this is just like sort of being a Kings fan forever and sort of accepting that like actually parity will never exist and is a bad thing, and the league is generally more interesting if the big market teams do well. Like, there's a certain self-loathingness to that mindset, but as someone who covers the league, I like, it's undeniably true. Like, I'd rather have the marquee franchises, you know, with the good players in the playoffs. Like, it's just generally more interesting.
Do you think the league has like achieved what it wanted? Because like, you know, they set out, sorry, we're going all over the place, but like they set out to get parity, obviously, you know, and Silver wanted all of these things. And yet I'm like of two minds about it, because I think I understand why you want to do that. You know, you want to kind of spread you don't want to just have this like top heavy league or whatever, but the kind of like averaging out that does across the sport mixed with how the CBA was structured to kind of encourage that, then I think mixed with what social media has done to fandom has created this like dire situation for the personalities of the league and the fans of the league.
Yeah, I mean, look at like the Mike Malone and Calvin Booth firings and like the Taylor Jenkins ones. Like there are these like pretty serious points of tension where like basically everyone's expectations are totally misaligned with like what is now possible, right, Harry?
Well, yeah, to your point, Liz, of the it's just sort of like intuitive. If you're running a league, you would think, okay, we want maximum parity because parity is exciting and whatever. And in this massive kind of 30,000-foot view, I feel like leagues in general trend toward that way. But the NBA, because for some good reasons and some, I think, bad reasons, has tied itself to like the id of social media, that they are constantly getting pulled off of course by whatever the machine of social media filled by a bunch of 14-year-olds are interested in or excited in or whatever. And so you get this thing where their North Star is constantly getting like jerked around. Like, is their North Star competitiveness? Is their North Star impressions? Is their North Star like the popularity of their American-born stars? It creates this kind of schizophrenic machine that the NBA, you know, it kind of makes the NBA feel or look a little erratic. And actually, I wanted to, when you brought up the Adam Silver kind of, is this good for the league? It brings up something I wanted to ask at some point, which is, you know, Stern would do shit like this. He would move in the shadows. He was
Chris Paul
pulling.
trade.
He killed the Chris Paul trade. He did, you know, I was actually just reading about like various LeBron profiles that were like spiked by Nike and whatever. Like they're moving in silence. Silver has operated a little bit differently, a little bit less known as this Godfather figure. But you're bringing up something interesting, which is like him moving even like deeper in the shadows. Is that how do you think of the Silver era versus the Stern era from like a keeping the league on track standpoint?
I mean, I don't know. It's tough because I think the league has just changed so much, and not by Adam Silver's hand, you know? Like, I just think that, to your point, like the NBA was had such a smaller fan base, and it was able to it just had different incentives then for how it would grow or who it would pander to, or like how it would nurture different stars, or its relationship with Nike. Like, I do think, like, I've always said that LeBron is a shoe salesman who plays basketball, and like that's a good way of thinking about how like topsy-turvy some of the incentives are with the money that's getting put, because it's just when on a pure like money level, like that's just true, you know, like about which tail is wagging, you know, the tail's wagging the dog or whatever. But I also think that like my impression from Adam Silver is that he doesn't understand what people like about basketball, and instead is trying to just like, and you saw that with the All-Star game. I understand the All-Star game is like a mess, you know, and like a lot of that has to do with the players, which again, the league has incentivized a lot of different things for the players. And, you know, you might just have to kind of like get rid of you know, how the NFL basically had to turn it into like a fake thing. You know, it's just, the league gets bigger and it gets more professional and more serious, which it has done since the, you know, Stern era, that the kind of stuff that we are really nostalgic about is just like not, it's like an anachronism, which is like tough to kind of reconcile. But at the same token, like, I think that Silver, like, I mean, I just fundamentally don't understand. I don't know if he likes basketball, you know, like I don't know what you could see Stern was like, I mean, everyone says this, he's a mobster. He was like a fucking like literally, I mean, he looked like he was a mob lawyer or whatever. And Stern is, but like for the kind of mob that like runs like Swiss banks. You know what I mean? Like it's just like on such a different kind of more cold. He just strikes me as like very cold and technocratic and he's very like passionless and it matches with something I want to talk about, but I feel bad because we just like totally sidetrack all like Warriors or basketball combo. So we can talk about this later, but like it totally matches with like the complete and total subsumption of the league to gambling and spectacle and cynicism, which all of it goes hand in hand. And it's just completely gutting the sport, I think.
Yeah, Silver talks about like the product of basketball in those terms. Like he sounds like a pharmaceutical CTO being like, our Q2 sales were up 17% and our customers love our wonderful offerings. And he does this thing when if you watch a lot of League Pass, it'll just be like a Tuesday, like Pistons Jazz game. And it's like, oh, there's Adam Silver in Utah. And they ask him and he's like, he says basically the same thing every time. He's like, we have a wonderful product for so many fans around the league and around the world. Wow, this is great. Like, it's like, he could be talking about, anything. Like the fact that it is like a game that is like I don't know, like you basically have to sell fun, right? Like it's an entertainment product.
Silver's favorite day of the year is the day before the All-Star game where he gets to be like, we've figured out how to like recreate an AI version of Penny Hardaway.
Oh my God.
He's trapped in there forever.
Dude.
But, yeah.
The Mr. Beast thing was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's when I was just like, oh my God, you are so lost. Like, you are so fucking lost. You brought this clown in here. Like, you gotta go. You gotta go.
Yeah.
Something you both have mentioned is like that basketball has like, or that the NBA has geared itself towards like towards social media and like the incentive structures of posting. Like, and I think that actually tracks sort of before that. Like, if you look at like the invention of League Pass and how the NBA sort of like rode the wave of streaming, and then like especially in contrast to the NFL, which has always just been like, broadcast television, extremely normal, like very serious restrictions on like what can get shown on Twitter and stuff. And like I think you can see the sort of schizophrenic way that the NBA thinks about itself vis-a-vis like how it puts its product out there, if that makes sense. Like the Donovan Mitchell musification of like the way that even like people within the league talk about it. Like, it's weird.
One of the things I think about it around this, and it actually does, I do think it starts to think about how we relate to media in general, is this idea is like of what a unit of attention is, and how some people will measure a unit of attention as like a physical impression that a digital media website spits out. But there is nuance, and not all attention is equal, right? And there's some, you can be really locked into a NBA game where you're watching and pay attention to everything, or you can be passively scrolling Twitter and like out of the corner of your eye see that the Pistons are playing. And the NBA, I think, thinks of those two things as the same thing. They cater to, they're like, oh, this many people are engaging with the basketball but they're flattening the person who's like on Twitter tweeting about a highlight of something versus somebody who is, deeply engaging. And to the point of like liking basketball, I would prefer, both as a fan, and I actually think it makes like decent business sense too, to cater to the people whose attention is they are investing more of their attention. They are investing 90% of their brain on a given moment instead of 5% of their brain on a given moment. But again, when it's catered, when it's like filtered through, these weird digital platforms, all that stuff gets lost or flattened.
It's funny because I think that like some of the stuff you're talking about dovetails with the big gambling story, which is like, I think is not getting its due for a lot of reasons, but mostly because I think the media is basically compromised. Sports media is just fully compromised, which I want to talk about, but
in gambling especially, like they're all literally
because every
FanDuel,
media company is underwritten by a gambling company. So, I mean, have you ever listened to a Ringer podcast that isn't like,
It's so crazy.
hold on, let me give you my fucking picks for, let alone what's on TNT and all that shit, you know?
We will be asking for your can't miss parlay, but we can get into that.
But I think that like the big story for me with gambling is, so I mean, there's like sort of three big stories I think with the gambling stuff, with sports gambling, which is there's the economic story, the straight economic story, which is that like massive amounts of economic activity are now being rerouted into essentially like dead end, non-productive spend, which is what gambling is. And that's like that's just like a cold kind of real way of looking at it. There was like a study done in Brazil about this, that it's like starting to affect GDP basically. Let alone, and then, the second story is obviously the addiction and the, what I would call like kind of the more moralizing stuff, which I tend to really side with and understand. But I think we get more of that than what I think is like kind of the big story, which is how it's rewiring our brains as spectators. And kind of like what I mean by that is that gambling kind of swaps, like you end up swapping like a rich emotional and aesthetic experience, a like narrative that you build, for just pure numbers. And you only kind of notice then what you like, you'll only take in the info that affects your bet. Everything else just kind of like goes away. And so you end up kind of watching sports like a machine, because this is exactly how a computer watches sports, right? We always obsess over whether AI is like starting to become human, but we kind of miss the ways in which like we are starting to think like computers, and this
100%.
This is like a kind of co-producing, I think, phenomenon alongside the rise of big data and analytics in sports, right? Because both sort of chase this idea that you can kind of conquer chance through the proliferation of massive data sets. So, and in sports, that's a very like, that's a very profitable enterprise, because the idea is like you map everything, you kill risk, you unlock profit. But this has like other effects, because the subjectivity that it produces is like twisted, right? Because when reality then veers from the model, like you automatically are like, oh no, the world is wrong because what the spreadsheet, what the data tells me is right. And so it breeds this weird paranoia in subjects, I think. Sorry, I'm getting a little heady, but this is something that I think about a lot. Like every play, basically excellence looks shady, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone says games are rigged. Everything is rigged when it doesn't match what is set out and supposed to happen. And so like in this weird way, betting and wagering makes randomness suspicious. Right. And so and even though like at the same time, what makes sports thrilling is like the unexpected, what actually pushes outside of like our, what we've seen before, what we come to expect. And so I feel this like great sadness about gambling, because every bet you make is like quietly a wish that the world or like the game is less random, when that is like what is bringing and has brought excitement, and push all sports, in the past. And this is where like I think the league understands some of this stuff, because like, when you see the league get in bed with the gambling stuff, which they're all like, official partners with BetMGM or whatever the fuck it is, like DraftKings and all the shit, like they, teams, leagues, players, all of them, they can like price every scenario then. That's what they're doing. And more knowledge then means greater temptation to nudge outcomes in whatever will produce. And they're not wrong to, like, that's what we're kind of incentivizing. That's what we've kind of structured. Yeah. And so the message I get from the league about everything is, by embracing gambling, they're admitting that games are actually just cash flow engines, and that maximizing action trumps pure play. And it's cynical, and it produces and reflexively demands cynical stars and then cynical fans. And it's part of the reason I don't connect with a lot of younger players, because I think that they're very guarded. I think they're very cynical about the way they approach the game. I think they're cynical about the celebrity. I think they're cynical about being stars. I don't think that they take it seriously, and I think it's because they take it seriously, of course. I don't mean it in that way. The way the way a lot of guys approach the game is just, we've smoothed out personality because it's too risky.
And the avatar of that sort of way of playing basketball to me is Jason Tatum, where he's just like, the thing that makes him special is that he can kind of do everything and make the right decision every time, which I think, to your totally correct larger point about like how the games just turn into these like two random number generators fighting each other. Like it's like the in chess, they have this tournament where different chess AIs play each other. Like that is the logical endpoint of this sort of gamblingization of basketball. I think
it
that's
does
so
work its way onto the court. I mean, these things, there's the kind of most obvious one is like the corner three hunting as the most efficient, points per shot thing you can get. But it even is like, if you watch enough basketball, you really do start to see how much revolves on how do we get a 3-on-2? Like, how do we make them put two on the ball so we can dump it and then create a sort of 3-on-2 efficient outcome? And I go back and forth on this kind of stuff where like, I think some of the league is homogenized, is totally, the style of play is totally homogenized. It's a little overblown. Like I do think there's a lot of exciting, like clashing of styles that does happen. I mean, the playoffs, as we will eventually talk about, is a ton of fun clashing of styles, but it does still, I do agree that at the end of the day, what is being hunted for is the most efficient shot, not the most awe-inspiring or cool or beautiful thing, which is a bummer. And like, not exactly what it looks like. The last thing I'll say about the smoothing is something Patrick, I've talked to you about this, about if you watch people who are going to be superstars, like if you go back and watch like Jokic's rookie year or Embiid's rookie year, they are so much more fun to watch. They are so much worse, and they make the wrong plays and they hit shots less.
Baby deer, baby giraffes, kind of like with their limbs akimbo. It is thrilling.
Embiid was doing like through the legs, spin move, reverse dunks, and now he just takes. Well, now he doesn't do anything, but when he was good, he would take 17 of the most lethal 16-footers of all time. So yeah, I agree with you.
Embiid is so sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is sad.
It's such a tragedy. And I don't even know like whose fault is it or what, except probably always blame the owner. But
yeah.
But like what happened there? Massive investigations needed, even though I know that's what everyone does every offseason. But.
The only thing I can think of is that it's the downstream effect of the spiritual failure of the process. That's like my
and Paul George, if you invite a player podcaster into your locker room, you're just asking for your chemistry to get shot.
Absolutely.
The league should ban the fucking CBA is going to be a disaster, but like, or when they go into renegotiation forever, I don't even know when that is, but
2031, I think.
Oh shit, we're stuck with this one for a while.
Yeah, we just started this one.
People are gonna get so pissed so fast, but yeah, because everyone's gonna have a different team for 3 years. No one's signing max contracts, but yeah, everyone like played themselves so hard on this. You got to ban players from having fucking YouTubes and podcasts. It's over. Ban it.
No mas.
That's what we're doing now. Ban it. We need a league commissioner who's ready to be a dictator. Is really what it is.
Before we get off gambling, there was two things I thought of, Liz, while you were talking. One, the way you remember the Jonte Porter case? How that's like suspiciously the only player who's gotten in trouble, and he happens. The way they enforce that reminds me of how they enforce PED stuff, where Tristan Thompson will get a 25-game suspension for like another like sort of inconsequential, like Bobby Portis gets like I think it was Toradol, where like, not to be too conspiratorial, but like clearly LeBron playing till 40 and like
is that really a conspiracy?
Yeah,
I mean, Kobe would go to Germany every like fucking spring break.
Yeah, it's really just like you have to believe in this like total book definition of what doping is and only care about like exactly where the arbitrary line is drawn. The other is that so you guys watched Warriors Rockets last night. The Warriors, you could make the case that the Warriors basically only won because Steph hit those like 3 or 4 just totally ridiculous leaning, running out of bounds, like Amin Thompson has faced threes. And I caught myself having this thought in the moment where, if you look at that, you say, okay, well, objectively, the Rockets like played a better game and should have won, but that's like not how basketball works. Like, because he is like Steph Curry is the right way to, I think about that spreadsheet basketball you're describing because of things you can't put down. Like, just he's so skilled and so strong and so good. Like, he kind of breaks predictiveness in a way, if that makes sense.
I love that.
That's why he's our boy. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I don't know if I think that that's the only reason why the Rockets lost. I like the Rockets. I like that I like their identity. I've been like rooting for them. Shout out Bay Area Legends, Thompson Twins. They're gonna be such fucking studs in the league.
Have you seen what their middle names are?
No, what is it? It's
capital X, capital L, capital N, capital C for excellence.
Yes.
Wow.
That's what I knew.
I mean, yeah,
incredible. Like Detroit is so fun too. Like I'm like rooting for these franchises, and I really like Emmy. Like, I've always really liked him. I like what he brings. I liked what he brought to the Celtics. I thought the whole thing, the way that went down, was so crazy. Yeah. But again,
we do need more of that. If we want to get back to the league that we had, we need way more of that.
However, the Rockets, like, one thing that, I mean, everyone always talks about this. I haven't listened to any of the, after chat. I'm sure all the podcasts are up or whatever, but, everyone always talks about this. Regular season is one thing. This is one thing that is tough about the NBA, which is that the regular season, which is long as hell, is one thing. And then the playoffs are just a different fucking game. And they ref it that way. Media talks about it that way. Everyone acknowledges it. And yet I don't think they understand what a barrier that is to like bringing new people into the game.
Oh, that's interesting.
However, so the Rockets can run, this crazy, have this great run during the regular season, but then it turns out that like, oh, if you base everything on transition, you're going to have no shot when you have to go into the half court and during the playoffs. If the only way you can shoot is like shoot to rebound to then get a fucking dunk, like you're going to have a problem. That really is like, I was watching the game and I was like, oh, you guys are shooting to rebound. And I was like, this is interesting. Let's see if this works. And, it didn't, but maybe it'll shake out differently next game. It almost
did.
Yeah.
It almost did. I mean, I think some of that is like the Warriors' dumminess. Some of that was like some really questionable, as always, rotations from Kerr, which is just like, you got to take it. That's your medicine. Take the crazy rotations. Somebody has to ask what the fuck is up with Kuminga.
Well, we're going to talk about that. I want to ask you about that.
But anyway, I mean, just because I keep like going all over the place. I'm sorry, you guys. I do really like the Rockets, but I'm not sure if Steph is the only reason why they couldn't seal the deal last night.
Yeah, it was but right. No, I mean, listen, we're gonna fucking destroy the Rockets. They suck, but they
don't though.
No, they're good. They're good. But
this is how all Warriors fans sound, Carrie.
I know. I agree that. Well, let's talk about that series now while we're there, because so. Let's talk Kuminga actually for a sec, because then we can. Because I think that's an interesting subplot in all of this. My 2 cents is that on a macro level, the Kuminga experience, I think, was a failure or is a failure, and I think there's some blame at Kerr's feet a little bit there. There's surely some blame at Kuminga's feet. Surely, or not, maybe not obviously, but I think we should have traded him at some point and gotten a return. As far as right now, I was totally okay with him getting benched. I just think the Warriors offense, or the Warriors win championships when we are playing this kind of like incredible, motion offense that requires split-second decision-making, and Kuminga can't do it. He can't figure out those split-second decisions, and he does make up for it in other ways. He slashes, he's big, he can get a bucket in isolation, but when it comes to the kind of straw that stirs the drink or the engine that makes us go, the ball dies with him. He gets it, and he can't move it. He can't figure out those passes. So to me, I was like, honestly, like, finally, we got him out of there. But I don't know if we have enough juice there. So where do you stand on that, Liz, as a Warriors fan? Are you with me, or are you kind of like, wish we should be playing him?
I mean, I think that he probably will get played in this series. I think it would be insane if he doesn't, especially if they go down. If the Rockets win the next 2 games, then like you haven't played Kuminga, like what are you doing? Right. I think that I think it's tough because the local media and national, which barely exists. So the local media has been better, but the national media.
7 guys for the Athletic.
Tim Kawakami.
Yeah, the Athletic and. Oh wait, that's it now. The Athletic,
podcast,
like basically they are just like running. All of them are just sound pieces for the owners. Again, boo the owners, but you can't because the media just fucking covers up all of this and are also afraid of the players. So like I remember when Durant was at the Warriors, and like I think it was Sherwood Strauss that like caught the ire of Durant and then like had no access.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been that was like sent a kind of chill down, I think, a lot of reporters backs, because they were sort of like, oh shit, if I can't get access, like that's it. And it's the same thing with the ownership. Like these guys just like, so now it's funny because if you listen, I always call them the official guys, but if you listen to the official guys for the Warriors, which is like the Tim Kawakami and Anthony Slater and all these guys, they for all season, they were like, how are we going to fit Kuminga? Kuminga has such talent. When is he going to be, back in the rotation? Like saying all this shit. Oh, Kuminga had a great game. Kuminga did this. Kuminga did that. Then he gets injured. Then he comes back. We have Jimmy. It's super fucking awkward. And suddenly the official guys have changed their tune. And now they're like, oh, well, I don't think, Kuminga's kind of a dummy. And he can't really play that well. And he doesn't fit with Kerr. And now it's the time to bet. It's like, okay, so Joe Lacob has decided there's a new story. And there's a new angle. My thing is that what I think is underreported is the Steph and Draymond stuff. Which is like, Steph and Draymond do not want to play with Kuminga. And now I guess Jimmy, whatever. Right. But like those guys plus Kerr call the shots. And no one wants to say it because everyone loves Steph and he's a little angel baby. But he's a fucking killer and he makes decisions and nothing happens with the Warriors without his say. And like, so I think that's under discussed. And I think we'll find out in the like billion 30 for 30s that come out in the years about the dynasty, like what happened here and what went down. But like, so I think some of it's Kerr. I think it's the players. They don't trust him. But I also think I think there's got to be some other shit there because fucking Brandon Vajemski holds the ball 5 seconds too long. He's a ball pounder. He doesn't pass that much. He constantly looks off open guys to like dribble into the paint, turn around and like do some weird floater and like travel basically. He's second year, no big deal, but like, I mean, some big deal, but also they trust him more than they trust Kuminga, even though Kuminga has some raw athleticism and brings, changes the kind of physics of a matchup with a team like the Rockets, right? So something else is going on there. And I do think some of it is Kuminga wants to be Tracy McGrady and the team needs something like way different from him. And that is why they held on to the pick for way too long, which is the story of everyone knows the 2 timelines tragedy, even though it took way, 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 way too long for national media to get on that story, because that was clear from the year after the championship where it was just like, oh my God, they're going like Trump burning the economy down with this. They're trying to like, and the media covered it up. They covered it up. Boo the owner.
I still have my James Wiseman stock.
Oh my god.
Oh, shit.
Rick
Poor
and Morty
kid.
fans,
But then
yeah.
also, like, I feel for that, like, fucking Warriors Twitter killed that kid.
Yeah.
Like, killed his confidence. And, like, I don't know. I'm, like, of two minds about the whole thing. I get really sad. I think that part of it is, like, the stuff we're complaining about with players and, like, the nostalgia we feel. Those guys would not have been able to be as courageous as they were with their games and as eccentric and as, like, fun if social media exists. Then if you had 14-year-olds being like, fucking kill yourself, James Wiseman, like, you're the reason why Steph Curry isn't better than LeBron, you know, or whatever the fucking bullshit is that people spat off.
This is why I will always love Kevin Durant, because he has like voluntarily chosen to put himself in that crucible and has become stronger and is like the only one who can't be bothered by any of that.
I love him. I love Kevin. Also Kevin, the like wandering mercenary of the league. Like, I find he's such a fascinating figure to me.
Did you watch Court of Gold, the
Yes.
Netflix? Okay, so
Loved
I think
it.
that I was so good.
It was produced so fucking well. It was great. It was
the
really,
access
really
they got,
great.
we talked about it a while ago, but like that basically made me understand Kevin Durant's career like for the first time, because he talks about how much he loves, like, you know, like the meaning of basketball, how it's this like locus of connection in like a hostile world, and how much fun he has playing with Steph and LeBron, and like understanding like that his basketball mortality is tied up in this. And I think he basically comes across as someone who's been in this like permanent search for the perfect team. Like, there's a version of his career where he like really buys into the legacy shit and is like, I will only ever be the best player on one type of team. We're going to play my way. And basically like, you know, doing some cynical min-maxing of his both earning potential and like legacy value, whatever that means. But I think the fact that someone that good has switched teams so many times and like has played for so many weird different kinds of teams basically shows this like kind of beautiful restlessness where he seems like he's always looking for like this ideal different way to play. And like that's why those Warriors teams, like I love those KD Warriors teams. They were so cool.
I mean, aren't we all? We're always chasing what we want, not knowing that we'll never get it and it'll never fulfill us even if we do get it. And that's the whole thing about the impossibility of desire. But I do think the thing with KD that's so, I mean, I love him as this sort of like romantic Lone Ranger wandering the West, just kind of like him, like a cowboy sort of in search. And then like, yeah, he just shows up at the saloon and they're like, okay, no, Kevin, you play for us. And he's like, all right. But at the same time, I'm like, you fucking thought you could be a coach. Like, I love Kevin so much, but when you see what went down with the Nets and then this mess in Phoenix, and you're just like, you know, that friend who always has problems with roommates, and then you kind of have to be like, bro,
Might be you, yeah.
where I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is going on?
Well, the Suns thing
go
is
ahead.
weird because like he was so much better than Booker this year, and the entire time he's been on that team, he's deferred to Book, and like the better version of the Suns is the one where KD like has an ego about it and like really takes charge. Like, it was sort of strange to see him just like stand in the corner for so much of his career there.
I think that he doesn't like that, but he also feels pressure to do that, and so he's very conflicted. And so I always saw that with the Warriors. Like, you know, everyone always I think it's overblown and more of a creation than people want to say about I think him and Steph know what's up, and like the noise kind of overtook what was actually real about there being friction between like who's the star, whose team it was. Although I do think Nike fucking pushed a lot of bullshit. I remember being in San Francisco and there was just like fucking Nike everywhere.
Right.
And it was like, okay, here we go.
Googling Draymond Green shoe deal.
Oh my God, fucking Draymond.
Oh, he's on Nike.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But no, I mean, I think that like he wanted to be, and I think he was comfortable being the kind of quiet guy. And yet his skill level sometimes demands that he be the alpha. And it was always something he was kind of uncomfortable with, but also then would indulge and really liked doing. I mean, I think that that's like a natural. I don't know. I find this all very humanizing. Katie is such an incredible and fascinating. I mean, a fascinating player and just a guy. I think he's like one of the best characters left in the league, in the way that he, the way he is on social media, the way like how in that Court of Gold thing, like just how open he is about everything. It's like if you want to know what's up with Katie, he will actually just tell you. Like he's just so kind of like no bullshit. It's just that like he's very human and very messy and very like okay with that, and I think that's very cool. But I don't see that anywhere. I mean, I'm such a like again millennial hater of the Zoomers, but who are the young guys that show this kind of? I don't know, like.
I think if there is, I mean,
360ness.
I think I was gonna say Ant Edwards is getting close. Notably though, how
Anthony.
we will know is in 3 or 4 years, whichever American-born NBA superstars don't have a podcast, those are going to be the ones that are about it, because it is. I mean, I'm sort of joking, but like Kevin Durant, a lifelong commitment, a guy who's been lifelong committed to, shrinking the barrier between fan and player, does not have a podcast. He's not interested in that because he is aware of how sort of silly and
He has a
performative.
Twitter feed.
Well, that's what I mean. He's got the better way to do it. He's like, he understands the exchange more intuitively than like say Josh Hart.
Yes, I do me and I chill.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful mantra.
It's so good. Like everything about it is so good. Like all his tweets are so good. The old ones are great. Like, yeah, he's just I need to like apologize because Anthony Edwards for sure is very interesting. Not just his game, but like personality wise. And he's very unvarnished. I mean, like that's the whole thing that's great. It's like I'm sure they have tried many times to media train him and he shall not do it. Thank God. But like contrast that with anyone on OKC.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up Shea and OKC. Are you one of these millennial haters of their Zoomer theater kid shit?
Theater kid shit?
Of like the Thunder's kind of like group interviews, like
They're
horror farming.
Liz is loading a gun.
Oh no. No,
full of avocado toast.
I think they're really excited and I think that's great. I don't know. I think I think that they are a feat of general management. The collection of talent and the way they put together that team and the rebuilding, after whatever, losing Durant, the situation that the Thunder were in when all that went down, and then the Paul George stuff, like all of it was so crazy, and the way and the vision and the way they rebuilt this team is like incredible, and also the way they could see, what the Warriors had done and how to kind of like find the holes in their way that they had constructed and kind of changed the shape of play for the years to come, and to kind of anticipate a kind of counteroffensive to that is super inspiring. This is the stuff I love about basketball, right? Like it's not just like, oh, get long guys. Like, yes, but also like they play 5 out. All guys can get in the paint. Like it's crazy. They're on a string. It's like really incredible to watch. So I'm not a hater at all. I do think that I hate analytics people and I hate most kind of like sports analysis and the way they approach this stuff. And so I find it all a bit bloodless, like the way they kind of write about that team. And I think there's a very interesting story that's being missed. But I do think that SGA is fucking boring as hell. I will say that there was nothing in that Court of Gold documentary that made me interested at all in the Canadians. And I was like, God, you're making the French, they're not even speaking English, and you're making the French more exciting. And it's the fucking French. Like, it's not as if Wemby is like that charismatic. No. I find him very charming, and his like, I'm just gonna read fantasy novels and complain. Like, I find him very charming as like a kind of gentle giant. I love a gentle giant. But the Canadian team was just like, get this off my TV. They were so boring. Juice. So little, nothing. There was nothing there.
They even had so much Dylan Brooks time, and I find Brooks to be sort of fascinating and like speaking of theater kids, like vaguely charming. Like doing the cornrows with the Rockets logo is like that's fucking cool. I love that.
He also like, was it with Memphis where he was like doing his like crazy goth thing, where it was like clear that he was into like some weird fucking like LARP situation, and you're like, yeah, do it. Like,
Go off, man.
I actually, I mean, he broke Gary's elbow, so he will never be cool with me.
Yep.
But I do like his personality, so I appreciate that. But yeah, no, I think that Shea is like he's tough for me. I find him really tough. I find him tough. Like all of the stars, the quote unquote stars that the league has tried to push, I'm like, I don't get where you're going with this. Whether it's Shea, whether it's Ja, I think is tough. Like,
Poor Ja. Zion.
Ja?
oh, God,
Yeah,
I
Zion.
forgot about Zion.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Well, we should figure out like, okay, Cooper Flag is coming. The crazy ass white boy era of the NBA is dawning.
in a way, sorry to cut you off, that once a trend is articulated, it's dead. It's like once Cooper Flag joins the NBA, that is actually the end of the crazy ass one.
Now
Like,
we know the top for Trump is here. Vibe shift will be complete. The reverse
Exactly.
vibe shift will be complete. Yeah.
Well, this is what I wanted to ask. Considering that and considering our earlier conversation, where will the league send Flag when they rig the lottery, and where's the most interesting of the bad teams for him to go? If either of you say Philadelphia, we will end this podcast.
Oh, I was.
It can't be the Jazz, right? They're not going to be that fucking
That would be white
obvious,
identitarian
right?
politics on a scale that's a little much for
If
them.
the future
I know. That would
is
be so crazy.
this,
Fucking Mark Cuban immediately signs with the Jazz.
yeah, buys them. Danny Ainge, out of the shadows.
He loses the New England black scent immediately.
Yes, we find out that Danny Ainge has had like shadow companies throughout the Utah area for 35 years.
Utah is so weird. Who's in the running? I'm like, I get
Brooklyn.
so, I know this is like a real old person thing, but I'm like, with the play and everything, I get very confused with the draft now because I'm like, wait, who's in the draft? Because like everyone is, anyway.
The Pope just died, R.I.P. And the list of the new popes looked very similar aesthetically to the draft lottery boards. I was like, oh, God, the Wizards are getting Pope Francis.
Oh God, the Wizard. It would be so. They can't. The thing is that they can't send him to the Wizards because it would be like derelict of duty. Like that's how you knew what they were doing with Wemby, because they're like, okay, this guy is such a fucking talent. We got to put him in the hands of a competent organization, and that's where you get kind of fucked with trying to engineer the draft, because it's like, who is competent? Who's in the draft right now?
Well, my theory
Brooklyn?
about this is it is about what. Who is Adam Silver catering to? If he is catering to these sort of boomers, then he will send him to Utah. If he is catering to like millennial 1.0 blog boys, he will send them to Philadelphia. If he is catering to like nihilist Zoomer ball, he will send him to Charlotte. Like that. Those are the Adam Silver gets to decide
No,
which.
Charlotte is like the fucking. You do not go to Charlotte. Charlotte is like the Chaz of the NBA, where I'm just like, what the fuck is going on there? Every time a team plays Charlotte, you're like, please, no one get injured. Like these guys, I don't even know who or what Charlotte plays for. They're like if you want to investigate what, like, if anything shady is going on, look at Charlotte, because those guys do not give a fuck about anything. And I'm like, so what do you care about? Because you want to make sure everyone's kind of on the same page here.
Private equity owners, just like the new Celtics people, just like everyone else who's going to be allowed to buy an NBA team until the sovereign wealth funds get in there.
Well, that's the thing, is that now because of these fucking contracts, like, and the way the U.S. economy is going, like, who is going to be owning these teams? I think you're right that you're going to see so much ownership offload in years to come, because it's either you pay billions and billions of dollars out for 3 years, and if you don't make anything, the fans hate you, or like there's no the returns are really tough, you know?
Yeah, there's like fewer and fewer fewer and fewer richer suckers who can take the team off your hand if you pay $3 billion for the Sacramento Kings. Like,
yeah.
why would you do
and
that?
To your point, with private equity coming in, like they're just going to strip away. I mean, oh my God, it's going to get so fucking bad. It's going to get really, really bad, actually, now that I think about it. Like the private equity playbook on all of these teams, like what they will, oof. And it's already so hard to see games. Like I'm in New Jersey. I can, we go to like Philly games sometimes because it's so much cheaper. But it's like MSG, there's no way. It's so expensive. I've never been to Chase. It's like so crazy. But
well, the Warriors.
Chase is really. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say Chase is really unpleasant because the upper bowl is like balkanized into all these little like segments where you cannot walk like between them. So you have to find your like port of entry. Like, oh, I'm in like port 65, and that's like half of one section has these like hard borders around it. It's really fucked up.
And to the point of kind of further like selling for parts and stuff, the Warriors are trailblazers in this. In that for season tickets, you need to like. They borrowed this from like some of the Premier League stuff. You need to buy like a $30,000 like medallion that just lets you buy tickets, which is basically a zero interest loan to the team that they can then like, financialize parking spots near Chase. So like, it's like the whole thing is getting further and further extracted. Like, we're going to see people, like Red Panda is going to be sponsored or whatever.
oh my God.
I mean, surely,
yeah, it's
right?
gonna get so bad.
Yeah.
Can I pitch you on a flag team?
Yes.
Okay, speaking of the U.S. economy, Toronto Raptors. This ties the NBA with Canada during a time. Maybe this could be the forerunning of the 51st state thing.
Yeah, the G League team is in Greenland. That could be good.
This is how they do it. Like flag as a witting or unwitting agent of U.S. imperialism. I mean, he's from Maine, basically Canadian border.
Yep.
This is Silver getting. I mean, Silver is close personal friends with Jared Kushner. This is Silver getting in even more with the current power structure. He's going to help.
This is the Elvis in Vietnam moment.
Even crazier, the Masai Ujiri is big in all the crazy shit going on in the NBA in Africa. So we got a full globalized Cooper Flag industrial complex.
Dude, Cooper Flag is going to help the NBA's investment into rare earth mineral companies. Yeah. This is like
he's going to be stuffing microprocessors in his dry fit, like and flying home.
I'm looking at the lottery simulator right now, so I'm just like seeing the teams. And first of all, I'm like, it's got to be Utah. I'm like, who? You don't give him to Washington. You don't give him to Charlotte. New Orleans, I'm like...
No fucking way.
So funny. We have a tip line for the show, and so we get, like, someone called in, and because it was, like, in response to me saying some shit about Luca, and commented on that. And then he also said, like, that the deal's already done to move New Orleans. And
to Seattle?
Didn't think about it for a long time. And then I was listening to fucking Simmons and Zach Lowe I think it was Zach Lowe with him the other day, because I can't handle Russillo. And Simmons brought it funny up. And he was like, you see what they're doing and you have to wonder, is this a play? He's like, New Orleans is a football town. Is this a town that really the NBA should be in? And I was like, okay, if he is seeding that, I mean, I don't think he's like in a conspiracy. I just mean that people are talking and they're talking to him about how New Orleans needs to sell the team, and like either it goes to Seattle or it goes, they expand even further, whatever it is. Well, I think Vegas is going to that's LeBron's team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was told that. I also was told that LeBron wants to run for president, but hopefully that has been.
Well, let me just say one thing about that, because I have been. I'm for a different project. I've been doing a lot of LeBron research, including I'll tell you about that afterwards. But I went to LeBronJames.com via the Wayback Machine, and some of this old, because right now it's just an I Promise like foundation website, but it used to be a fan forum website. There where just like people would post, and there actually is. It's really funny. There's a LeBron James. There people would post dating profiles. They would be like, I'm a LeBron James fan, and I want to meet other LeBron James fans or whatever. But there is a post from Team LeBron, kind of incoherently outlining a LeBron James for president thing. That's really it's I'll send you the post afterwards. It's very like 1.0 blog shit, and it's bizarre, but it's on the forums.
I'm looking at it right now, but it won't load for me because it's Macromedia.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Imagine meeting the love of your life on LeBronJames.com. I wish.
Oh my god,
It's so
They were
beautiful.
they were all like I do me and chill coded. Every single dating profile, of which I looked at a bunch of them, honestly. I kind of, because I was trying to figure out, because they all put their Twitters and Instagrams and stuff, so I was trying to see if anybody, may or may not have a LeBron James follow, may or may not have, possibly been taken up on an offer to date LeBron James, but I couldn't find anything. But there are some really funny ones in there.
Speaking of, when you were mentioning the Jonte Porter story getting kind of like brushed under the rug, or the way that was handled, you know what else was brushed under the rug was Matt Carter, who got nailed for big gambling thing, and everyone was just like kind of agreed like, "Oop, nothing to see here," and then just like moved along.
It is crazy, and like sort of like what you said earlier, like seeing the disclosure on like an ESPN story about that like ESPN is partnered with DraftKings and FanDuel is like really kind of tells you more than the actual content of the story in most cases.
Yeah.
Liz, we're at an hour, so I could keep talking forever, but what's your time zone?
I'm good. We're good.
Patrick, where are you at?
I'm good.
All right, let's keep going for a sec. Because you brought up. Wait, so say more about this. Actually, well, while we're on the politics thing, this is me submitting to the TrueAnon tip feed in real time. But I have heard that Ryan Russillo is. I'm sorry, one of Ryan Russillo's big listeners is none other than Barack Obama.
That doesn't surprise me.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. I know.
I wonder if Obama has like interesting NBA hoops takes. I feel like he doesn't. I think he's probably like.
My read from Court of Gold is that he does not know ball.
I know. I forgot about that scene. That was so funny.
He fake knows ball. Like he knows the contours of what he's supposed to say, but he's not out here maneuvering a pick and roll.
The best part of that was when Ant walks up to LeBron or to Obama, and you can see LeBron and KD in the background with like shock and surprise in their eyes, and they're like, do not let this man just speak unfiltered in front of a camera to Barack Obama.
But I'm like, yes, that's what we should have, is one of those like YouTube shows with the flags around, whatever, but it's just Obama and Anthony Edwards, and just like seeing what comes out of Anthony Edwards' mouth.
That's a player podcast. Do you think Anthony Edwards knows what a tariff is?
I think we should ask him.
Yeah. I would love to know his answer. He seems like a smart guy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Did you watch Wolves Lakers?
So good. He was just so determined to talk shit, and you could tell that he was like motivated to keep hit like increasingly difficult shots because he wanted to like. You could tell he had the celebration in his mind already, and that shit is fucking cool. That's why basketball is good. Like,
yes,
I love this.
The competitive edge is so important. Like, there's so many guys that just like don't bring it. Either they don't care, or they're cynical, or they're like. And it's been that way for a long time. I'm not saying that that's new, although I feel like I see it more and more. Maybe I just pay attention to it more and more. But he like fucking shows up and takes things personally. People need to start taking things more personally. This is a fucking war.
I mean, you see people talk about how there's like they worry that there won't be enough rivalries, basically, that all the people coming in are like buddy from either AAU shit or just understanding that like trying to have these like perfectly featureless personal brands. And like, that's how you get, not to say the word again, but like Nike money, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what the league is incentivized. They also, I will say like the league doesn't want any fucking trouble. They don't want anyone getting canceled. They certainly don't want Ja like doing fucking machine gun dance offs or whatever the hell he's doing on the court. Like, you know, and I understand that angle, but like at the, you know, the other side of that is that you smooth out personality and you know, it's funny. It's like, I remember we were talking about one time on the show, we were talking about Real Housewives, and we were talking about how, like, you know, it's like weird, you know, it's funny because social media has basically trained everyone to stop being messy because, you know, it's you have to take care of your personal reputation. But like that sucks when you're trying to watch Real Housewives because the whole show is reality TV is premised on that there's a bunch of people ready to be messy on TV. And some of the stuff that I think we're all attracted to with the NBA, that's very different than other sports, right? It's very different from the NFL where you don't really know a lot of the personalities except for the quarterbacks, and and you know, and some of the receivers, and it's all kind of problematic in its own way and racially coded. And like, but in the NBA, like you see these guys up close and personal, and like there's so many fewer players, and you see them more and more. You see more of them because there are so many games, and it's just a very personal kind of, I mean, even more so than soccer, I'd say, or much more so. And so on the one hand, like the personality is such an important part of the game and of being a fan of the game and being a fan of these athletes. And yet everything that can and will make the league more profitable in the future depends on them managing those personalities or managing the personality out. And there's just I don't know if that tension is reconcilable.
This sort of, this reminds me of something like you hear this all the time in the Bachelor franchise, this like legal fiction of the right reasons, where like basically the contestants are all there to get more Instagram followers essentially,
Sure.
but you have to like keep up this pretense that you are there to get married. Basically, you see this, maybe the inverse of this process in the NBA, where people genuinely are there too much for the right reasons, and you need more of this like personality shit in there.
Yeah, and I don't think you can. I don't think there's like any going back to how it was before. Like I don't think we can put that back in the tube or whatever. And I don't know, you know, you have to kind of push through it in some way or lean into it. And you have people like Ant who come in and don't give a fuck either way. And you're like, oh my God, it's so refreshing, you know? And so maybe there's some of that there. But when you see who the league is kind of like, again, who they're pushing, who they're putting behind, like I know it's like a classic millennial thing to say, but like, what is the league going to look like when LeBron and Steph are out? And everyone's talking about that. I know that's the big storyline, but it's true. It's true. Just because like these guys, like I'm not a big LeBron fan for a lot of reasons. Most of them don't have to do with being a Warriors fan, but like they are showmen, and they take that part of they take the spectacle seriously. They take the kind of like, I am here to put on a show for the fans. And this is kind of what the game is about at its best. And there's not a lot of that left. And there's no one in the media demanding it either, because they're all looking at other shit, gambling, stats, all of that.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a little bit before, but Ja, to me, really represents the collision of all of this stuff, because he was somebody who did not come up in this regular. He was not sanded down by being at, you know, the Nike EYBL camp when he was like 14. Like he was under recruited, you know, all of this stuff, and wasn't media trained, but then is now pissing people off and is getting this sort of like Iverson comp of whatever. And it's hard because when I go back to like 2000s fan Harry, I don't like Ja. I think he's annoying to me. I don't like that he can't shoot. I don't like that he complains at weird times, whatever. But I want to defend his right to be unlikable. Like,
yeah,
you know,
for
like
sure.
the he is himself, and the gun. I actually thought the grenade thing was this really fun moment because he, intuitively or not, was playing at the NBA's game almost. Like he was like, oh, okay, you're gonna like criminalize me only for doing a gun celebration. Like I'm gonna up the ante. Like you're gonna find me for doing a grenade thing. I'll do a bazooka next or whatever. Like Maybe I'm like projecting that as like this.
He has like an elaborate drone.
Yeah, well, that's
he
that.
does.
Gets
were
down in his
joking
tummy
that,
and
yeah.
opens the fake laptop. Yeah.
Pulls a ghillie suit out, like stays there for 24 hours.
I think there's a class element to sort of what you both were talking about, basically, where like as the lower levels professionalize and it gets like increasingly competitive to get AAU slots, invites, whatever.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing this now where like so many incoming players are sons of former players.
Yeah.
And like it's not necessarily just enough to be like talented or athletic anymore. Like it really does take like larger capital investments basically to like create an NBA player. And like that I think will also like lead to a homogenization.
Oh, that's so true. No, it really is. You know, you see this in other industries too. I mean, the rise of the like Nepo baby all in Hollywood or whatever is somewhat overstated, but also a really interesting phenomenon. I know that's always been there, but I do see it, you know, I think the cost of you know, what you say, that the investment of like becoming an athlete at a young age, it's the same thing as like a musician. You know, you have to, if you are parents who can afford to put your kid in fucking cello classes every day since 4 years old or whatever, then they will be a prodigy. And the same thing with or they won't be a prodigy, but you can, like, you know, if they have the talent or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And the same thing with the NBA. It just, like you say, I think that whole AAU farming system is kind of rotten. I mean, I don't know. And I don't know what the alternative is at all, but like I don't think that it's a coincidence then that some of the most exciting players are coming from different places, right? The most inventive players, or the like rawest players, whether that's like, you know, Jokic, or whether you're looking at Wemby, or whether you're looking at Embiid even, or, you know, that are just sort of kind of cobbling things together out of either like sheer talent and they're not being sort of like modeled by this kind of bizarre Byzantine, almost like academic professionalized atmosphere.
Well,
Totally,
and
yeah.
coupling with what we were talking about earlier about what makes a good NBA player, especially not at the superstar level, what it makes or how you excel in a role is you play mistake-free basketball. You become exceptionally good at these reads that are, again, like
rote, basically.
They are. It's hard. Like, part of me wants to, you know, it is fun to see a little dink pass, a Draymond look off the big and then dump it down to Gary Payton or whatever. But over and over and over again, the rote kind of plug and play nature of it could have downstream just sort of like everybody's doing that in one way or another.
But like to see that done at the highest level is still pretty great. I think like a hypothetical Thunder Cavs finals is like the one I want, because basically you have two perfect decision-making engines, both on the same side of the court, and like there's not as much just like individual Allen Iverson stepping over Ty Lue kind of shit that's going to happen there. But like, and maybe this is sort of getting into Liz's media angle too. It is sort of harder to tell the story of like, watch how Alex Caruso plays this switch, yada yada. But like that
Alex
shit is cool. Like it's really, the basketball is so fun right now, you know?
Good.
People like Alex Caruso, I'm like, that's someone who needs their own fucking big profile. That's a winner. I can't believe the Lakers are such a stupid fucking franchise. I hate them so much.
Yeah, failing upwards. That actually brings up another thing I want to talk about at some point, which is, so, you know, I think we are rightfully poo-pooing some of this stuff. There's an interesting tension I find, though, which is that this was an extremely fun basketball season. At least my semi-subjective take, you know, with the Luka trade, with it was really fun. There was a lot of parity there. Even now, there are probably 6 or 7 teams that could win the championship. So I don't know. What do you reject the premise, Liz? Like, was this season fun for you, or do you? And if not, or sorry, if so, how do you kind of frame that tension?
I do. I mean, I think there's always fun stories. There's always fun angles. I mean, I think this Detroit story is like my favorite for the year, like them figuring that out, because I think everyone wants to root for that franchise and that city, and like they are a really fun team, and it's taken a really long time. They were such a fucking joke. But it's like, it's also like, oof. But I don't know. I mean, I think like some of it is, I think the sports media is so fucking bad. And I think they're really bad they chase the wrong stories. They care about themselves too much. They care about their own personalities too much because they're all in competition with one another. And they have to create so many stories out of thin air to sustain a kind of like 82 game, not just an 82 game season, but like 4 or 5 storylines for that each game of the 82 game season. And so it like all this, there's just so much bullshit. There's so much bullshit that I just like, I don't know. I think that so much of NBA media is people getting this like media personalities getting mad that no one is paying attention to the story that everyone is actually paying attention to. Like I see this all the fucking time where they're just like, well, yet again, no one is talking about how great OKC is. And it's like, bitch, that's all you've been talking about all year. Like, we know. What do you want from us? They did this with the Celtics, too. It's like they were holding a gun to people's heads to like the team. And it's like, babe, I don't like the team. I don't know what to tell you. Like, move on. And so it's like, yeah, there's good stories here and there, but I think that we have a media class that is incapable of telling them and of seeing them and of finding them. And so like, and they're all just fucking chasing their tails. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's too like grumpy of a take, but I am very, if it's not basically like fantasy driven kind of like storytelling of like, you know, this player should maybe, what if I was the GM? I would trade him here. Or who are your guys? Or, I mean, that's like the whole fucking Phil Simmons approach is very like fantasy basketball driven meets, which is why it meets so perfectly with DraftKings sponsorship. I mean, that's it. But it's either that or it's just like, all these numbers tell me that Jokic is the greatest basketball player to ever exist. You know, those are like, we're always toggling between those two stories, and we have for a long time. And so I feel a little stuck, I guess, with the NBA. I don't know.
Yeah, I sort of came up in the era of like the florid like basket blogging stories where you'd be writing like theoretically a blog about like Tyler Hero, and the lead is like the universe is either infinite or it's not. In 1793, Johannes Kepler, and like I love that. You're not really gonna like learn about basketball that much, but I thought that shit was all great, and that's totally gone. And like even like Lowe coming back, like I think it was interesting to see how much of the larger NBA media ecosystem I think he held together, in the sense that like he could provide this like consent. He was like the maker of consensus reality essentially, and I think without him 100%. You see this like great splintering where like people don't really know who to get their cues from. And I think it descends, like you were saying, Liz, about like every story you have to preface with like, no one knows this, but Kevin Durant is pretty good at basketball.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think like some of the most interesting stories of the season are just like no one wants to talk about for access reasons or for whatever reasons. Like, okay, there's the Luka trade. I feel like, again, everyone talks around it because it requires some investigative journalism and probably burning a lot of access. But also, like, the Phoenix story is like the fucking biggest story to me. And that's not a fun story for everyone to talk about, you know? But to your point, like, I think that someone should write that story about Zach Lowe, because I do think the NBA media is like completely out of sorts. All sports media is. The NFL media has its own problems, but is more contained because of the way the NFL is kind of structured, I think. One of the
things that I see in this is that in most cases, in part because of like remote work and post-pandemic life and the lack of incentives to collaborate, is that like these media people who are increasingly becoming like small businesses, owners of their own, you know, little one-person thing, like aren't just sort of don't seem like they're talking to each other. They're literally not talking to each other. Like they're doing most of their jobs, remotely. They're not going to an office or a newsroom full of basketball thinkers. Like there's like, I've worked at basketball companies where there is not a basketball Slack channel. Like it's just like the amount of like everybody is a media mercenary in some cases, like financially, like all the way down media mercenary, like where they don't have health insurance, that kind of thing. So
No, totally.
It's the siloing is all the way down. And I mean, I guess we're not saying anything novel necessarily. Is just like that because the celebrity profile is basically on too, but these athlete sports profiles stink. I mean, they don't stink. The ones that are good, but they come out. What there was a Jokic profile in the New Yorker, like maybe 18 months ago. That's like the last profile.
We used to get those big Sports Illustrated ones, like 4 or 5 times a season. Like now, it's just the thing is that algorithms crave novelty, and creators are incentivized to invent endless micro storylines in order to stay visible. And so that's what the narratives that shapes all of the dialogue about the sport now. And it's not for the best. And I can't imagine I do think being a player, I mentioned the James Wiseman thing, but like I do think being a player, because they're all fucking plugged in reading that shit, and you're constantly just like, if it's not you killing someone's parlay, which that is going to fuck up your head. I mean, Halliburton talked about that last season. I think he talked, and I think Tatum talked about it too. Like,
it's weird you didn't get anyone doing any of that this year. Like,
where's the story?
Really,
and this is what I'm saying. This is the biggest fucking story in sports. And it only gets covered whether it is like, oh, here's a crazy betting ring we found in Slovenia, in the Albanian tennis betting ring. And it's like, yeah, no shit. They're betting on tennis in Albania. Okay. News at 11. But like, no one is talking about, because how can they? These are the people that write their fucking paychecks. If it's not the algorithm, it's the betting company. And then the betting company is powering the algorithm. Like, it's a fucking mess.
Yeah. And like I mean, as a media member, basically like the money all kind of, like digital media, the money all kind of went away, and gambling companies are the only people that like have money. But at the same time, like, I don't want to use the word creator, but like players and people in power of public interest to basically realize that you can just do a propaganda, like YouTube, quote unquote, documentary. Like, that's a much cleaner way to get your version of the story out there, where you don't need to mediate with any even potentially hostile party. Totally.
And then we get no good stories. And all we get are just these mass produced narratives. Like, I actually have a question for you guys, because I was talking about this the other night. Is LeBron retiring? Is he going to do the big Kobe tour next season or the season after, or whatever this guy is going to do? And is he going to, because he said he wouldn't do that, but I don't believe him, because it's fucking LeBron James.
Yeah, no way. But
like, or is he just going to say like, okay, I'm out? And when is it going to happen?
I think everyone knows. I think like there's when he retires, you will get like Brian Windhorst and people saying, well, he finalized these plans in 2019 and we all knew about it for years, but didn't want to say like that shit will happen. I think he'll do the big rollout tour, but I think also the Lakers having Luka basically complicates it, because they'll be like serious contenders, theoretically, for the next 10 years.
I know, isn't that so great?
Like, you can't just do like a fake
like
team.
My agenda is like so good right now. I'm so high on my agenda right now.
The two things, and this actually is I have a take kind of around this, which is like I do think that the next kind of revolution of data or nerds coming into basketball is going to be around like biomechanics and like prime extension. And Henry Abbott just wrote a book about these sort of like life-changing emerging technology around, how you can completely fix your ACL through these like new kinds of things, whatever.
Oh, I should read that. I didn't know he wrote that.
Yeah, it's about to come out, or it just come out. Henry Abbott, by the way, a lot of wonderful Epstein.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's
shout out. True hoop.
But I think, and actually just one funny story about this. I'm sure I've said this on the pod, but I always laugh about this, about Mark Cuban, the early biomechanics thing. Mark Cuban traded for Wesley Matthews after he tore his Achilles and was like, I have invested in a medical tech startup.
It's going to be Dr. Frankenstein.
that will fix his Achilles. He just never
That's so
played
cool.
again.
Yeah, and it was like from Shark Tank.
Yeah, exactly. But so I low-key think LeBron is going to play for like 6 more years because I think he...
Dude, fucking stop.
I think if
He's
you
so
are
good
committed
still.
to this sort of like new age biomechanics stuff, you can extend your prime like crazy ways. I kind of think Steph is also going to play for like 6 more years. Fingers crossed.
I think it depends. I mean, I think that the Steph thing is interesting because like all their contracts are lined up, and like the franchise has gotta. I mean, Steph and Draymond and Kerr's contracts are lined up. Sorry, so like
I thought you were doing a Harry Krinsky LeBron Warriors conspiracy.
One day.
I think the Luka thing. I do think that was like way more on the table than people are saying.
Yeah, post Luka, probably not.
No,
but
it's
I
dead.
agree. I think it was.
But I'm like, dude, if LeBron can't win a fucking ring with Luka, like, what are we doing here?
Right.
Great for my agenda, but like nobody. These are not conversations that you're allowed to have thanks to Nike. And you know, to the victor writes the history books. So I don't know if we'll ever get the right history on any of this stuff. But I'm being crazy. But I never get to talk my shit like this. No, but I'm just like, dude, you have to like, we have to be freed of some of this era. Like, we need to move on. Like, this sort of obsession with, I get it, because if I mean, I don't get it, obviously, literally, but if I were one of the best athletes of all time, I too would have a very difficult time confronting my career mortality. And clearly LeBron has, I mean, the issues with his son and that whole situation is like so complicated. Again, one of the biggest storylines that nobody can fucking write about because the media is so captured. We want to talk about like good NBA storylines. Like, if we had a blogosphere at this time, this is what people would be like investigating. This, the fucking edible drama of it is fascinating. And
Yes.
LeBron, the classic like bourgeois obsession with defeating death and time, like all of this is so ripe, and yet we can't talk about any of it because, you know, they will fucking put a horse in your bed.
I think a LeBron-y stuff can be sort of explained by his heart attack situation, where I think like people are maybe a little hesitant to be mean because it's like, but even then that's doing him a disservice because you're implicitly saying he's like on this team as a Make-A-Wish kid, like by not covering him as a serious NBA player.
Infantilizing either way. Yeah. And so it's like at some point you're either saying like, oh, he's literally never going to stand on his 2 feet, or or like he is. Like, you have to make a decision, and I don't know which is more fair. But like the way LeBron comes after this stuff is like that long, and I just, yeah, it's fascinating. I wish that like, you know, I wish we could talk about it, but then all of that would also, we'd have to get rid of ESPN and everything because they're just
Someday.
like,
Yeah.
Wait, where did you come
Terrible.
down on the LeBron retirement question?
Me or Liz?
I mean, I want to see how this series goes. If they get bounced, I'm really interested in seeing what happens with the team, because that will be, I mean, LeBron was going to have to like force Luka into like a kind of Biggest Loser situation because he is so overweight. It is crazy to me that people are trying to be like, Dallas was just being mean. And I'm like, yeah, they were being mean, but they were also right. Like, if you go back and look at photos of Luka from like just like 3 or 4 seasons ago, you're like, bro, you are fat. You're fat. You are a fat man, and you need to not be fat because you are now you're a world-class athlete.
Right.
But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think like, again, Le GM is a bit of a cancer, and I don't think that they understand how to actually like build a right team. I don't think the Lakers team makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people are kind of like wish casting some things to happen, but when you see like, oh, you really can't play defense. Like, you have Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, the Mark Williams trade basically, the fact that was aborted basically explains why they're like so imbalanced and have like one competent guy who's like over 6'8", and that's LeBron.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think a lot, I hadn't thought about LeBron just continuing to play for 6 years. That's so crazy. But you could be right, because also, you know how badly he wants that 5th ring?
Yeah.
And so, like, what are you going to say? Like, oh, I think that as long as Steph is in the league looking at that 5th and LeBron is looking at that 5th, they're going to stay in together. They might be on like a suicide pact a little bit, which would be cool and romantic.
That's beautiful, yeah.
That's so beautiful. I love the two of these guys orbiting each other. It's so it's so epic. Like it's very like Greek in a way, but also I do feel like we as a people need to move on from these two, as much as I love them and as much as they have structured like the last decade plus of my life. I feel like the league is being held back a little bit because they're like the only guys. They're the only planets and everything orbits around them. And like, we can't, it's sort of like, you know, you see all these like female celebrities who are 60 that look 30 and you're like, I get that we're all doing this now, but also it's not right. Like we're kind of like, we're doing something wrong here. We're not there yet with Steph and LeBron, but like LeBron at 40 playing at 45 is like, we need to kind of like, you know, talk to God a little bit.
And to reintroduce the passage of time.
Yeah.
Yes.
LeBron might be working on similar stuff with the ladies too. Like we could see LeBron get the hair down even farther.
The med tech thing is very interesting though, because I was thinking about that with the Lillard clot.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, what? You saw blood clot? And first of all, how did you guys detect this? So I'm like, oh, these guys are getting scans like constantly.
Yeah.
Same thing with Wemby. Like they must be getting those Pronovo scans like all the time. But I think it's true. I'm so fascinated by what they do to their bodies in the recovery and just, I mean, Kawhi looks like almost like a 20-year-old Kawhi. It's crazy.
It's amazing.
I mean, I guess he didn't play for like 2 years.
No, I mean, and it's funny too. There's some poetry to this a little bit where like you can draw a bit of a line between, you know, Jordan changed shoes forever, LeBron changed the media forever, and then Steph, as this guy who re-taught himself how to walk, is this
Forrest Gump.
Is like a kind of victory of modern biomechanic science. But and like, you know, these we've seen the NFL too, like some of these, my extending of this medtech theory is that it is going to separate the psychos from the not psychos. Like if you can extend your prime if you are psychotically committed to your own health. And so you'll see
like Djokovic.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, like LeBron or like Steph, whereas somebody like, you know, Melo is same timeline, same natural skill. I mean, not same natural skill level, but like an excellent player who treated his body less psychotically excellent and, you know, was out of the league on a normal timetable. He had an incredible, 16-year career.
Djokovic really changed how we're going so long, but Djokovic in particular really changed how I thought about injuries, because it was like last year when he tore his ACL in the French Open and won the fucking Olympics like 3 months later. And that was like the moment where I thought like, everything's changing now. Like primes are going to go on forever. Like that was
that Olympic run was incredible too. That was like, ooh, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. This was a really good Olympics, this past Olympics. But yeah, I'm a big Djokovic. I really, really like him a lot. I think it's like unpopular. People don't like him, but either for the vax stuff or because of the big three, they find him to be the more boring, I guess. But I love watching him play. I love watching him play so much. I just think his game is just I'm not going to try and be a person who talks about tennis because I feel like the stakes are too high. But I really, really enjoy him.
Yeah, it's honestly, I've hated him forever, basically until this year. But it's like seeing him, use the outer bound of his mortality as like a win condition, kind of, where he'll get into these, like in the majors, like the younger players will just go crazy and they'll just like try to hit every forehand winner past him. And he realizes like, I can still out athlete these guys. And he just settles in for like a 4-hour marathon. And like, ultimately the fact that he uses like what should be like a 20-year-old's best weapon against them is like, I kind of can't hate that.
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool.
Yeah. And he really understands. I mean, he really just knows how to feel everybody out.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's, and here, I'll bring it back to the Warriors. Like, that's something that I almost felt like it was being overstated when they're like, oh, championship pedigree, but never count out, 4-time champions and this many All-Stars, whatever. And it's like, that's all true in the abstract. And then I was thinking about it when I was watching them with the Rockets, where I was just like, dude, if they lost, these guys they would care, obviously, but they would just be like, all right, next game, been here before. Yeah. I'm like, these motherfuckers came back after so many things. Like, it's just like incomprehensible to me. Or when you think about it with Steph, like that performance in the Olympics, of which he was robbed MVP, Nike. That you think about that, where everyone, it was like when fucking shit was hitting the fan, everyone cleared out and they knew who needed to get the ball and who they trusted. And it was clear as motherfucking day. And the calmness that he could play it with in that situation, knowing like the only thing you can do is like be in the moment and go like just what all of those reps and all of those years like taught them, and watching that kind of in like full crescendo in the fucking Olympics was, I mean, I sound so corny. It's so stupid, but I love it so much.
No, it is.
I love it. It's incredible to watch. Incredible. I love watching greatness.
Well, Liz, you are podcast greatness. And that was my transition into the end of this. Liz, thank you for coming on. This was really fun. Please,
yeah, thank you so much.
We normally ask our guests to plug it at this point, but if you don't know about True and On, you probably don't know about Nothing But Respect. So go check out True and On. It's an incredible pod.